All right. Well, good morning. We have another episode of Yes Way Jose, and I am the guest of all time. I guess I always get to be on the show. I guess maybe there'll be a time you guys will decide that the Jose part could be better, right? But good morning to everybody. Again, it's Jose Cabero, mayor of Shepherdsville, and we always try to emphasize that having these episodes is an idea of trying to get information out. But we always want to emphasize, when you listen, please reach out to that email address. And, hey, listen, Travis. Good morning, Travis.
Hey, what's up?
Now, can you do that email thing that you did really better than Eli does?
Oh, yeah. It's yeswayjosemail@gmail.com.
Did you hear that, Eli?
I did hear that.
He did a really good job while you were gone.
It was okay.
Oh, what's the email address, Eli?
Yeswayjosemail@gmail.com.
And
Look at that.
We got professional people. That's how we repeat it.
We got professional people. Well, good morning to everybody. We just want to make sure you know that we are always glad to have you listen to the podcast. Give us any ideas and make sure that you understand that we're trying to bring on folks that actually make a difference in our community. We got a good guest today we're going to talk about. But I just want to briefly tell you about our City Fair Bullet Blast. It was awesome. And we talked about it, and we talked about the crowds, and we're making some changes. We're going to make it bigger and better than next year. And we just want to thank the community. I think the biggest thing for us is, as we reflect on what we did good and what we could tweak, what we learned is we have a community that really took care of that, take care of the facilities, the events. Everybody's very thankful, grateful for the rides being free. We're trying to do good things in this community, and I just want to tell everybody that's listening and anybody, just thank you for being a part of the event, and let's rock and roll. We got some fun things coming up the rest of the year. So with that said, we have a guest this morning. His name is James Thornton. I'll just not say anything about what he does and what he wanting to do in our community. I'll let him do that. But James Thornton, good morning to you.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you, Mayor. How are you?
Well, we're doing good, man. Good. Glad to have you this morning. And I think the thing we want to start off with is, I think people want to know when they get a celebrity guest on here, who you are, all right? Who you are and what are you doing? So take a few minutes out and just say hi to everybody and tell them a little about yourself and what you do.
Well, again, my name's James Thornton. I'm a local boy. I was born in Claremont and then raised here in Shepherdsville. Went to school here, and then I left for the military in 1991, and I basically ran away for 30 years.
30 years. Thank you for your service, though, by the way.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was basically gone. I spent 25 and a half years in the state of Georgia, and of course, 5 years up in New York. I come home every now and then, but I'd always haul ass again one more time. Something kept me away. But I had an eye-opening experience with an organization based out of Nashville called Warrior Rounds. And it's a veteran nonprofit. And it's music therapy. They bring what they consider warriors, and that could be veterans, combat vets, first responders, cancer survivors. And they bring them down to Nashville, and they put them in a room with an accomplished singer-songwriter out of Nashville.
Oh, wow.
And that individual tells their story, and that songwriter articulates and knows how to ask the correct questions. So together all day long, they write a song.
That's really very unique.
Yeah, so we fast forward about 3 months. And the good thing about Nashville, of course, they want to hear new music, but they also want to know the story. Well, we tell the story because we film you down there with that songwriter.
Oh, wow.
So 3 months after the first part of the retreat, we have a free live concert at the Hard Rock Cafe in downtown Nashville, where not only we present your story, but then the singer-songwriter comes out on stage and performs your song. Now, when I say accomplished, when I went down for my retreat 2 years ago, I was hooked up with a gentleman by the name of Bobby E. Boyd. And most folks don't know the names of songwriters. But if I say Bless the Broken Road, that Rascal Flatts won a
That's
Grammy
one of my
with.
favorite songs. It is really one of my favorite songs.
He co-wrote that. So
okay.
Yeah. So he wrote my song. So, and really good part about, because we use those accomplished singer-songwriters, when that individual goes down, when that individual goes down and they write that song, it gets distributed through all of the music companies.
Right, yeah.
Anybody can pick that song up. I mean, let's just say, for example, I get a call tomorrow, Jelly Roll people want to pick up my song.
Yeah.
Well, Jelly Roll folks can change the music, and they could change the tempo, but they can't change any words without my permission, and that's the cool part.
Yeah.
So,
because that's the story. I mean, that's what the whole purpose of is. I guess I know you're going to continue. I have just a quick question about the therapy part about it, and I guess it's sometimes it really is about relating to what happened to you, right? Those experiences that most of us can't even phantom.
Correct.
So that's their opportunity to say what they feel, right? And so by having it in a song is obviously really kind of a novel idea. But I think just getting the words on a piece of paper has to be a very good piece to helping somebody find peace for whatever's happened in their lives, right?
And that's absolutely correct. Mm-hmm. I mean, when I got started doing all this, I used to travel and tell my story. And I talk in front of organizations, and it lasts anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour, 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. But in 30 seconds, I'll tell you that I come home from combat, I buried a child, and I went through my first major divorce in 16 months.
Wow.
So the name of my show is We All Do It Differently. My story's not worse than yours. It's not worse than yours. We all do it differently.
Right.
I just had another path in life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I go around, and what we have found out is that when I go out and I do these speeches, it really, really hits home. So when I go to bed that night, that stigma of 22 vets a day, for me, just dropped to 21, because I have yet to go to a show where I didn't have at least one person come up.
Yeah, I want to make that point. Say that again, because I think most people need to understand. That's one of the, obviously we have organizations like Active Heroes and some other great organizations that are working on veteran suicide and prevention specifically. Yeah. This whole thing with the music therapy's got to be really cool, writing songs to give them some outlet. But 22 a day. 22 a day. And I had a psychologist in Illinois after one of my shows said, and I told her the same thing, that stigma of 22 a day, which is just absolutely horrible. Mm-hmm. But when I'm done with my show, I'm on zero. Mentally, physically, I am on zero. Mm-hmm. But again, when I closed my eyes, it went from 22 to 21. And she said, the good part about that, James, is how many didn't say anything?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I've talked in groups of 700, 800. What if there was 10 out there?
Yeah.
What if it touched 10? We don't know, and that's the good part. I was at another show, and I got a 98-year-old retired command sergeant major, and he calls my show a slobbering snot fest.
Slobbering snot fest.
Because everybody, there's so many people crying, and I was on stage one night, and I was doing my deal and talking, and there was a young man about 9 rows back, and he was just absolutely in tears. So I just kept, and I was waiting for somebody to go to him, and nobody freaking moved.
Wow.
So I just kept talking. I had one of them goofy headphones on with a mic in my face, and I walked down off stage, walked down the aisle, kept talking, rushed down, picked him up, gave him a hug. I said, folks, sometimes this is all they need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine. My dad served, like I said, obviously 21 years, twice in Vietnam and twice in Korea. And I think the thing is, most generations back then didn't know how to release, right? So we're trying to open that up and have agencies, just so some of the like-minded folks, a lot of our military can get together. They speak the same language.
Absolutely.
So that experience is something that maybe the rest of us can't really relate to. So I think sometimes when we have these podcasts, this podcast, I hope people really understand. We can share it with veterans to know that they're loved.
Absolutely.
That they're a part of our community, and we are going to recognize them and do everything we can to help them get whatever they need to be, just to keep being part of our community and families and friends. So I appreciate the part of that. And so how long has this been around?
J.T. Cooper started this in 2018.
Okay.
So right after they first got started, it was actually on CMT for a bit.
Oh.
And they would take the money from CMT and throw it right back into the organization because those retreats they're not cheap.
No, I get it.
So as an ambassador, I just run around and run my big mouth and try to
at that. I mean, I got a couple guys here in the studio that are pretty good at that too. We just don't let them talk much because it's Jose show.
That's right.
So I run around and raise awareness about the organization, try to get donations for the organization. So
yeah, I think we've seen the equine therapy. That's kind of good. I think the music therapy is kind of good. I think we look at all different options that we can have for everybody. First responders. I mean, we don't forget. We don't forget what a police officer has to go to a crime scene. We don't forget what a fireman or a fireperson, a firefighter goes into burning house.
Absolutely.
We just don't know, what everybody has to go through. So I think it's important we bring awareness to it, and we have programs like you have, James, because obviously we got something really cool that we're going to talk about in a minute. But I think for this program, I think it's just one of many that I hope people always have the right mind about it. Obviously we'll keep promoting Warrior Rounds and getting that out to here for our community. But now, is there a regional? I mean, you said Nashville. How far does it go? East, west, north, south?
I guess you can say the corporate office is based out of Nashville. So I'm actually the first one to try to pull it out of Nashville to make it go much bigger. I spoke with JT after I got started with this, and I said, my hopes is we have it in every state within 10 years.
Yeah.
So, I'm working with a couple veteran service organizations up here in order for us just to, for example, a Warrior Rounds Kentucky edition.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And then we've got folks in other states that are putting out feelers we're seeing what we can do. Because the music therapy part is so awesome. Mayor, I can take you and put you in front of the world's best psychiatrists, psychologists. First of all, you're going to be upset because you're there. Second of all, you're going to say the least amount as possible just so you can get out of there. But I can take you and put you in a studio room with an accomplished singer-songwriter, and you won't shut up all day. And we have proof. We've got it on video.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool. Again, having more of a regional impact on this because we have Fort Knox, right, guys?
Absolutely.
And we have Fort Knox base here. A lot of people retire from here, and then sometimes they don't get what they need. I'm not going to get into the whole VA thing, but there are things outside of that people can actually look towards, right? That
Absolutely.
They can get these kind of remedies. I really believe these are remedies that people just get connected.
That's correct.
I do think the organization and the brotherhood, that connective piece, and we're hoping that we do things here as the city. I mean, obviously we got a big event come up. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but I think it's important for everybody that's listening to really understand that the mental health issue is such a prevalent part of our society today, and it is very prevalent when we talk about our military and our first responders. So I appreciate what you do on that part. We're going to keep it a little lighthearted here. Obviously, this is a very serious topic, and we want to make sure things. But we always have to get an update on the Gaga Ball.
Well, of course.
So he's back now from Hawaii. I mean, okay. Who sponsors if you win the World Series of Gaga Ball, Travis? That you get a trip to Hawaii? I mean, how many people get to go? Your whole family get to go, Eli? And
just the people on the team.
Oh, the team.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. I still think it's a money laundering situation that he's got going on over there.
So I
don't know who sponsors it.
I just need to know.
Frisch's Big Boys.
So Frisch's Big Boy.
I just play the game.
So he doesn't get a lot of money, is what you're saying?
You actually play the game and coach.
I do.
We went through that. You had your whole contract redesigned so you could be a player coach kind of thing.
Right, kind of like LeBron.
Yeah,
LeBron's like a GM and a player.
I was thinking more of Pete Rose, but
yeah,
he was kind of a player GM.
I love Pete Rose. I don't think that normally works out a whole lot when you're coaching and trying to play at the same time.
I have a Pete Rose autographed baseball, which is worth almost nothing because that's what he does for a living. Is just sign baseballs. But it's cool though.
1,236,000 baseballs.
Yeah, my dad has a Johnny Bench. It's worth a little more.
Yeah, at Johnny Bench, that's another good one too. I think the Big Red Machine was a big deal. I'm obviously, I've got some fans that I like as far as baseball players. But anyway, so Gaga Ball trip's over with. Now we're going to start practicing.
We're having a very rigorous off season right now.
Rigorous. Yeah. Boy, I'd like to hear about this. Rigorous off season for Gaga Ball.
You'll have to see when the season starts. You'll have to see the results.
Yeah. I mean, the expectations are high. I mean, it can be no less than first, right?
Right. Yeah.
And the ages of the players again?
Well, we're not going to get into that because it's kind of like a Little League World Series baseball.
Yeah. How's that 7-year-old that blew their Achilles out? Are they going to be ready for next season?
Yeah. We're not sure yet.
And see, that was my concern. Is some of the folks that graduated from elementary school now going to middle school, so they're disqualified by age.
Well, the one kid has to shave. That kid has to shave. I think if you're really going to have not that problem, you make sure that shaves. I think that's going to be a critical thing. But, hey, listen, we try to keep lighthearted here a little bit. We always have fun with some stuff. But we're obviously having a very serious, somber day about what we think about our recognizing the ones that have given the ultimate sacrifice. And with that said, James and I met with Wes Shriver, and we met to talk about a year ago. It's a little longer than a year ago, maybe something like that. And we met here at City Hall, and we decided, hey, we want to put on a big event recognizing specifically an era that never really saw the recognition of the sacrifices the men and women made during the Vietnam era. And I can tell you, in my personal experiences with my father, those are true. You do hear that from the veterans of that era, that they were not recognized for a lot of what they did. And unfortunately, it's a sad part of our history. But I don't think, we're a great country with recognition to our military and our veterans. I think this is going to be a great opportunity. So, James, I know we talked about it. I'm going to just mention Traveling Wall. Love you to kind of break it down a little bit. It is actually going to be the last week of July. I'll give them all the details. So, James, talk about the wall, talk about the mission, talk about the details of that, because we want everybody to attend.
So, the city of Shepherdsville, with Warrior Rounds, we have gotten together and we're bringing in the largest traveling Vietnam wall in the country.
Oh, that's awesome.
It is an 80% replica of the original wall in Washington, D.C. When we set this up, it will be 360 feet long.
Wow, that's awesome. It's going to be in a great position in the city park.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And, of course, it has all 58,000 plus names on it.
There's 58,749.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
What's the youngest man on the wall?
That's 15, if I remember right.
That's correct.
I've listened to you tell the story. Yes, that's a great story, too.
And there's like 2 16-year-olds, and there's 8 women on the wall. Mm-hmm. So once we set this up, we also have what we call the Cost of Freedom tribute. Mm-hmm. So away from the wall, in the field, we're going to have 41 individual A-frames. And it's going to represent just about every major military event that we've had since 1980. So you're talking about the USS Stark, Beirut, you're talking about Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia, 911. There's even plaques on there about the Agent Orange.
I know that was an interesting one, because when you mentioned that, I thought, well, that's something else that misses, because there was cause and effect of the things that we were doing over there in this military actions that now have affected when they come back.
Absolutely.
Well, it took a long time for them to admit to that one, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was a struggle.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It was a struggle for that. But I'm glad that's being realized, and we're recognizing them for their actually the effect of what happened, right? Because,
correct.
Again, they're still sacrificing their lives to be in that war zone.
That's correct. Mm-hmm. I mean, we still have folks out here today that suffers from Agent Orange. You're absolutely correct.
It's really a sad thing, but hopefully we can do some things to, first of all, the awareness is a lot stronger today, but hopefully we can find ways to help these folks out. So.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. So altogether, once we have it completely set up, there's going to be over 72,000 names on the field.
Well,
and it's going to represent literally hundreds of thousands of men and women. Mm-hmm. It's an awesome sight to behold.
And I guess one of the things that for everybody listening and for Eli and Travis, one of the things behind this wall is not everybody can go to Washington, D.C.
Right, yeah.
And so that's the purpose of it, right? So they get everybody to a chance to experience the wall. And for a lot of them, there may be friends and family that are on there that we want to pay their respects for. And so let's talk a little bit about that setup, because it's not just to hear, and it's only certain hours a day. It is what, James?
It is open 24 hours a day from the time we set it up.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So it should be up. We're going to have an escort on July 24. Mm-hmm. And it's going to start in Mount Washington, up at the amphitheater ballpark area. Mm-hmm. We're going to start the escort at 7 p.m., mm-hmm. Then it come all the way through Mount Washington, down 44 into Shepherdsville. We should get to the park roughly around 9 p.m. that evening. Yeah. And then we'll immediately start setting it up. And it should be completely up by midnight.
Yeah.
So at any time, there's no charge. It's there. There it is.
It's going to be set. Once it's set up, it'll be that way 24 hours. We have James has got is really organizing all the volunteers to work shifts. So we're all going to be kind of like ushers to help loved ones get to there. We'll have some accommodations, because a lot of our veterans and their families are a little bit older. So the accommodations of having golf carts and getting them around so they can pay the respects for their loved ones on that wall. So
when it's going down the street, is it going to be like where you can see it?
No, it's inside of a closed trailer. Okay. But the trailer is decorated.
Oh, okay.
So you'll know that the Vietnam Wall is in that trailer.
It's like 70 panels, right? It's like
I was going to say 300, yeah.
360 feet, but it's really extensive. It's going to be in a V-shaped. actually into that park. And one of the cool things about it is we got a pretty good sized park there.
Yeah.
So we're having it down in an area that we want to keep it very quiet and somber, right? We do have some things that we're trying to make some accommodations because some folks are coming to this. They're going to be coming for some distances. And so once they get there, we want them to be able to pay their respects. And then a couple hundred yards away, we'll actually have some, some food accommodations and some things just to kind of keep it a peaceful time, but just a relaxing time when you're not at the wall itself. Because I tell you, this wall, I can't even imagine the feeling I'm going to get standing at this wall, James. I got to tell you, buddy, this is going to be, and we are going to try to commit as a city to do this every 4 years. Okay, that's our commitment because we feel like as we, and especially I look at Bullitt County in the regional area, we are very respectful of our military and our first responders. I always include them because there's so much of the things are similar in what they do and the decision making they make every time they get into one of these situations. So, really excited about that piece. I mean, obviously, we're going to we're going to have some different speeches and folks that we want up there to speak about their experiences. I know you're working on that, James.
Yes, sir. I mean, we've got retired military personnel that served Vietnam. We got folks that were drafted into Vietnam. We have folks that's going to talk about some of the other events. We'll have a ceremony for a Sergeant Hilgert. Now, he actually lived in southern Indiana, but just to show you, yes, we live in a large world, but really how small it is. Mm-hmm. Sergeant Hilgert lived in southern Indiana, and he was in Somalia. He was an MP. He was our first mission that we went to when we went. We were only there a couple days when his Humvee was blown up and the 4 MPs were killed. So that was our first mission. Well, it gets even better, I guess you can say. The Motorcycle Association that I'm with, his son's in it.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah, this world is really, really big, but it's really, really small.
Yeah.
So we'll have a ceremony.
You got also recognition that I know that me and the mayor of Mount Washington are going to recognize. So you want to talk about that?
Yep. We have 3 KIAs from Vietnam, from Bullitt County. We have 1 from Shepherdsville. We have 1 from Mount Washington. And we have 1 that's in nobody's land. And if you're from Bullitt County, you understand there's an area north of Mount Washington that you have a Taylorsville address. You went to Bullitt County schools, and you have a Jefferson County phone number.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Okay?
That area.
That gentleman is from that area. Because when I first started digging into what Bullitt County had represented in Vietnam, when I found the KIA list, there was 2. So I have personally talked to the family members of these 2 gentlemen. And a few weeks went by, and one of the families contacted me and said, "What about this guy?" I said, "Well, he's listed as Taylorsville." They said, "Yeah, this is why."
And
but he went to
Bullitt.
Yeah.
One of the gentlemen, or the gentleman from Mount Washington, and this gentleman went to school together. They knew each other really well. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that's how I found out about it. So now I've been in touch with their family as well. So we're gonna have a ceremony with Mayor Cabero, Mayor Owens from Mount Washington, and Courtney Burden are going to recognize all 3 of the individuals, and their families are going to be out there.
Yeah.
And I'm very honored to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does. I mean, it says a lot about when it's local like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it is.
It touches home. Mm-hmm. It really does.
It does.
And I tell these families when I first start talking to them, not only do we want to honor your brother, we want to honor your family, because your family paid too. They sacrificed.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
That what they say that the biggest 2-letter word in the world is if. You got 3 young men that died. What if?
Right.
They come home and had children. How many children? How many grandchildren? There's always that what if, but these folks sacrifice as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the stories that I got told was he was 26 years old. So in Vietnam, he was an older guy,
Right.
And they were getting ready, him and his wife were getting ready to meet in Hawaii for a little R&R. She was at home packing clothes when they knocked on her door.
Oh, wow.
Another gentleman, his young wife, never remarried, never had children.
Oh, wow. Wow.
She always talked about that was the love of her life.
Yep.
She never remarried.
So one of the things I think is going to happen for Eli and Travis when you guys come to see this, the stories that you're going to hear, right? James was giving us a couple of examples of the commitments that people have made and the sacrifices, and then the story afterwards. I think you're going to hear some of that when you get to there, because that's the thing that I'm looking forward to is listening to these families and telling their stories and the pride they have in their loved ones. And I think for us in this podcast, we do a lot of things that we think are very beneficial to the community. But I think this one's a little more somber one because we really want to make sure that this is understood from the time that wall is set up until the time they leave Tuesday morning on the 30th, right?
That's
so
correct.
They go to their next venture. It's open to everybody anytime. We encourage everybody listening to this, and we're going to put a lot of information out. We've done that already. We're very honored as a community to have that. But we're also letting everybody know this isn't just about Shepherdsville. This is every city that's here. I know Mount Washington is going to plan to put their own ceremony on in a couple of years from now. I think it's just right now it's an important part, especially for younger folks, and especially Eli, because I think he's 12, doing the podcast at 12 years old. But I do think
Vietnam. What is that?
Yeah, he doesn't have any idea
what?
that. Yeah. So I think for a lot of folks, we just want to remind the young folks that are making that commitment to the military service that you're going to be honored just as well. We're proud of you that you make that kind of decision, but at the same time, we don't want to forget what's happened. This country isn't where it is because we haven't made these kind of sacrifices. These sacrifices are symbolic of why we appreciate the country we live in. We know that. And again, I'm not trying to be too serious, but I think it's important for everybody to understand that this is a great time in this community. We have a week to all of us to pay our respects and to be attentive and respectful. And I think this is going to be a wonderful event for all of us to be reminded of how great this country is.
Absolutely. And you made a very good point earlier about the younger generation. Mm-hmm. So shout out to Scout Troop 81. I reached out to them. I met them, went out and had a talk in front of them. Our schools are not teaching in depth about situations that we were taught in school.
Not at all.
You know what I'm saying? So
it is different.
If we forget about it, if we don't talk about it, it goes away.
Yeah.
So I was very honored that Troop 81, they're going to come out, they're going to spend all 5 days with us. And then not only that, at our information table where the booklet is, Troop 81 are going to learn how to read that book. So when the folks come up say, hey, I'm looking for John Adams, they can look up John Adams, what state, what branch of service he was in. And for example, it's panel A, line 14.
Well,
so they can take that family and walk them up to panel A
cool.
and find line 14 and find Mr. John Adams. But what I have seen and what I have learned about these young folks doing that, 9 times out of 10, when they walk a family up to that wall, they get a story.
Right.
Yes. I think, and that's a really good point. I'm honored to be a part of this. I'll be there every day in some shape or fashion because I just think it's important to meet folks that come to our community.
Absolutely.
Know more of the folks that are in this community. I tell you what, we'll save the next podcast for something really crazy. But I just want to end. I want to really keep this right where it is because I think for everybody that listens, please listen and understand that we appreciate our community. We really appreciate everybody that's done. James, I think this is going to be a wonderful event. I think it'll be something we'll look forward to every 4 years to do it here.
Yes, sir.
We have a lot of relationships. We're trying to work with Fort Knox. We're trying to make sure that everybody understands that everything we can do to be a better community, and it starts with everything we do, but let's remember the folks that made the ultimate sacrifice.
Always.
One last thing on this is we are also trying to make sure the POWs and MIAs, you want to talk just briefly about that piece before we finish up?
You want to talk about the proclamation?
You talk about the proclamation, talk about, we just want to recognize, because one of the things this wall does, it recognizes those we know made the ultimate sacrifice.
Absolutely.
We still have a large group of people that have made that sacrifice. We don't know where they're at.
Absolutely.
Or what's happened to them. And I think for loved ones, that's got to be a very challenging time. And all these years and some of the numbers that are out there. So
how many is that? Just Yeah.
What was it? I think I don't quote me on the numbers, but 1,200 out of the Korea War, 1,500 out of Vietnam.
Oh, really?
These are folks that they don't know where they're at.
Right. Yeah.
And don't have any closure.
And we still have some from World War II.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always seen the flags. I just didn't know what the number, actually numbers
Yeah.
were.
Now, the Vietnam really made it in the forefront, so to speak.
Yeah, that's kind of when the flag came around.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
So, anytime you think about any military conflict, the worst thing we can ever hear is that a soldier or a sailor or Marine died.
Right.
Because, like the old saying is, if you haven't chanced dying for that flag, don't disrespect it.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that, honestly.
I know you do, James.
I mean,
I know you do.
As an active participant of Black Hawk Down in Somalia, Operation Gothic Serpent in 1993, I'm telling you right now, I love my flag, I love my country, and I love my brothers and sisters, and I will do anything for them. But when we talk about the deaths, we cannot stop thinking about those folks that just vanished.
Yep. Yeah, and I've got there's some really good organizations working on that. So that's one of the things too. We want to make sure this is part of this whole ceremony. For the time the traveling wall is here, we want to do everything we can to encompass everything, the impact that war has.
Absolutely,
for both families and obviously communities and stuff like that. So listen, James, I really appreciate all the heart and soul that you put in this.
So July 24th to the 30th, correct?
Yeah, it'll be basically about 11 or 12 o'clock on the 24th. It'll be set up, and the clock starts ticking. It's all 24-hour operation until that Tuesday morning. And probably it would tell you that Monday night's a good night to finish up, because they're going to be getting everything ready, going on to the next venture, which is obviously important timetables that they're working on. But we have a great opportunity to just say thank you to not only to you for your hard effort and all the volunteers and folks that are helping you make this successful event, but I really want to thank the community. And I think that's going to be important, because we're going to know more about the folks that have actually had to deal with these situations.
Absolutely. Again, July 24th, we're going to start in Mount Washington at 7 p.m. We're going to boogie on through about 30 mile an hour all the way to Shepherdsville City Park. Come out, wave your flags, wave at the,
Absolutely.
One of the hardest things that I ever did is when my very first escort of the wall. We come down a little country road, and two people helped a little old man up out of his wheelchair so he can salute that train.
Oh wow, that's really impressive.
It'll rip your heart out.
Right.
I'm telling you.
I have a feeling that a lot of us are going to see a lot of our own emotions on what we know that really this is all about. So, James, I can't tell you, thank you very much for being here with us. This is obviously one of these things we want to make sure people know that. Please come, please attend, pay your respects.
Absolutely.
You probably have family and friends that are on that wall that you might know.
Bring those children. Bring the children.
They got to know.
Let them learn.
Also, Eli's playing music at it. Did you know that?
Yeah, I am.
Wow.
Yeah,
So-
Eli's in one of the bands that's performing.
That's right. I actually did hear that. So is that cut into the Gaga all the time? I mean, is that
Well, of course not. I wouldn't join the band if it was going to cut into the Gaga all the time.
Okay,
I
so
mean,
now
you got to know where your
priorities,
priorities,
right?
You gotta know your friends.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
kidding aside.
They're playing right after practice.
Oh,
Yeah.
so they got
And then as soon as the last song ends,
gotta-
I'm back to practice.
I got you. Listen, so for everybody on this podcast listening to us, listen, we appreciate it. Please get it out to folks. We're willing to always, as we always do. And I forgot that email address again, Travis.
Oh, it's yeswayjosemail@gmail.com.
And that's a professional right there, Eli. That is professionally done. Anyway, we really appreciate everybody being on the podcast today. I do want to make sure this is my third one now. I'm getting ready to do it. We're going to keep doing this every time we signal off on this. James, you'll learn. I do one thing that I've been trying to do a lot more, just to keep it kind of light-hearted and know that we're going to see you again. And we're going to do it now. Love, peace, chicken grease.